everybody. As you can tell by this picture here, today we are going to be talking about blueberries. I get a lot of people asking me because we have a lot of blueberry plants. We have right now 36, 39 blueberry plants, somewhere in that neighborhood. And we are adding more. I'm going to give you a quick synopsis of what, how, when, where, all that stuff there. First thing, this is a ripe blueberry. How do you pick a blueberry? That's the first thing we will start with, because that's probably the biggest thing I get. Okay. Now, blueberries have different, you can get a size perspective of my hand. I got bigger hands, so. Blueberries are just like apples, where they have different types. Granny's, you know how apples have Granny Smiths, Red Delicious, Yellow Delicious, Fuji, Honey Crisp, all of them. Same with blueberries. And they harvest different times. If you get more than 2 blueberry plants, I really recommend getting 2 types. Besides having to worry about one if it gets by disease, if you get 2 different ones that produce 2 different times, your harvest season is longer. Okay, good thing to pick blueberries most of the time is, do you see how this almost has a little powdery coat on it? I mean, if you rub it, see how it just comes off just a little bit? That's ripe. Now, this, if I can get it in, is overripe. I'll set it right there so you can see it. Now, that is still good to eat. That is better in my opinion, but some people still like those. Now, some variety of blackberries ripen to a dark like this don't get a powder. Very few, but some do, so know your variety. And if you Google the type you get, you will know it. So here is another overripe one. I picked some at different stages so you can see it. On the plant, you will start off with the berries like this. They will be white, okay? Just like that, almost a cream. Then they will get kind of like a reddish, almost like you see some sour apples, kind of like this. Then they move on to this. Now, they will be, do you see how these are all red almost, just a little dark in them, and this one's kind of like half and half. These are still not ripe. If you eat this, there's some pucker power in that. Whew, boy. Now, then you got these stages. If you look at this one, it looks like it's ripe, if you look at there. But if you turn it over, there's still some red there. So you don't want this. You can pick this if you have to, but I would still wait. Then it'll be at this stage. This looks done, but then if you look, there's just a little bit of red at the bottom. You got to watch that. Now, if you're short on blueberries and you're making this for a recipe and you're adding sugar and you have to, this is okay. It won't be as good in my opinion, but it'll still work. Okay, then you get to the ripe right here. There you go. And then you get to the overripe. Now, you are going to be picking some like this by mistake. This is actually one I picked. I got in a rush and I didn't look at the whole thing right away. That is still fine. If you're mixing them, you probably won't even know. Now, growing blueberries, the biggest mistake I see when growing blueberries is the wrong soil pH. Blueberries like a low pH. Most plants like pH below 7. Most plants like it around, depending on the plant, like around 6 generally. Blueberries like it below 6. So you have to keep the pH down to make them happy. That's the biggest mistake I see. They just plant them in their backyard. And if you can with blueberries, make a raised bed, even a 1-foot raised bed. And what we did is we just used straight peat moss in the beds. Now, peat moss is water astringent. What I mean is it does not want to soak up water right away. So do not let the bed get totally dry. What we did is we would put a bag of peat moss in a trash can, fill it up with water. A few hours later, dump it out in the bed. And we just kept doing that. Now, I use my tractor bucket, but you can just use an old trash can or a trash can you have just to let it soak in. If you don't have that, you can put it in the bed, water it lightly, like with a soaker hose or a sprinkler on very, very low, and just keep it going for a long time. So do not let it go down. Now, blueberries are big time eaters in nutrients. So most people will have to add some kind of fertilizer on there. Try not to, but you almost have to most of the time. You can use compost and all this, but that will raise your pH of the soil. If you do that, don't forget to add other nutrients to lower the pH back down. Otherwise, your compost you'll be adding will raise the pH. So besides adding the compost, you'll have to add something lower. So most people just add a little fertilizer to it because they're heavy eaters. That's about it. One other question I get is, blueberries, how many will I need? Well, that's like you asking me how much gas you'll need for the car. I don't know how many you eat, how many you like. Blueberries take 2 to 3 years to get into full productions. Well, 2 years to really start producing, 3 to 4 to get in full production. Whatever you think you'll need, I would go one more bush. If you're thinking about 2, I'd go 3. If you're thinking about 3 or 4, I'd go 4 or 5. Just for the fact that the more blueberries you get, the more you'll use them. Now, you don't have to use them all fresh right away, although they're really good and most people will. If you freeze them on a single layer on a cookie sheet, just like this here, freeze them overnight. The next day, take them out. You can vacuum pack them or put them in a nice freezer bag, Ziploc bag, you put them in there. That way they don't stick to each other. Then you can use them all year long. That's why I'm saying the more blueberries you have, the better. Now, some advantages of blueberries is you do not have to pick them every day. Blueberries will stay ripe on the bush, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, depending on the type, variety, and weather and all that stuff there. So you don't have to go pick every night. You probably are going to want to, but you do not have to. And another advantage you have is we had a bunch of people come over and pick from my wife's work the other weekend. Well, we didn't pick Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they came out Saturday, just so there'd be a lot of ripe ones on there for them. So that's another thing you can do also, is you can leave them on a little bit if you're having people come over, or if you want to pick on the weekends, you probably want to go out Tuesday, Wednesday and pick, and then just pick on Saturdays. You're probably going to want to a little bit midweek. Otherwise you will start getting some to drop off and you will start losing some. But blueberries are a really good hardy plant. Don't let the soil dry out. Keep them when they're fruiting. Keep water on a regular schedule. You don't want the soil to dry out. The rest of the year, it can be a little drier, but you don't want the soil to you don't want it moist soil, but you don't want it to go to a drought situation like that. That's a better way for me to say that there. But blueberries are a great plant. They're very versatile. Tons of stuff you can do with them. I'm not going to get into that right now, but that's basically it. So let me put these here and I'll show you one more time the stages. You go from there to there to there to that to ripe to overripe. That's the different stages right there. So I hope you guys like this here little video on blueberries. We do grow a lot of them and we are growing more. If you're wanting to have something little and you want to sell or trade, blueberries are great because they travel good, they stay on the plant, they stay fresh in the fridge longer than a lot of other berries, so that's it. But remember the pH of the soil. That is by far the biggest mistake I see people make. And if I was growing them, the first year you plant them, the next year, if you get any berries, I'd pick them all off just immediately as soon as they're in that stage. Just pick them off and just get rid of them. The second year they were in the ground, I would pick most of them off, but keep a few. That way you can kind of know when they're going to be harvested, when they're going to be ripe, and you'll kind of know. Third year, start picking them. It'll really make the root structure stronger if you do that, and you will be happier in the long run. So I hope everybody has a great day and enjoy this video.